Forward with Rose, the leadership podcast for higher education professionals who are ready to lead with vision, courage, and impact. I'm your host, Rosemarie Sloan, a committed advocate for excellence in higher education, engaging in thought-provoking conversations with change makers and influencers who are shaping today's colleges and universities. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Dr. Fay Lee, Dean of Instructor for Accounting, Business, Communication Studies, Government, and History at Lone Star College Sci-Fair. Fay is an experienced educator, a policy leader deeply invested in student equity, institutional effectiveness, and transfer student success. With a powerful blend of research, strategy, and advocacy, she brings invaluable insight into what it takes to lead transformative change in higher education. Whether you're guiding a department, stepping into a new leadership role, or simply striving to grow, this conversation will equip you to lead with clarity, elevate culture, and drive results. Where tradition meets transformation, let's think forward. Hi, Fay. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Hi, Rose. Thank you so much
Hi.
for inviting me.
I am thrilled to begin this conversation with you, and I know our listeners are really excited. We always talk about the dean's role. So I want us to spend some time with that, but I want to back up a little bit. You didn't just become a dean. You had a leadership journey, an educational journey. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe share what you've learned and where you're still challenged?
Absolutely. So, first of all, I want to thank you for that really very just gracious introduction that you gave me. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for that. Um,
Well, I'll
I
stop you right there. You've earned that.
well,
You
thank
have absolutely earned that.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hmm.
Well, my leadership journey began when I was a faculty advisor at Lone Star College. And first of all, I do want to just make it clear that everything that I share with you is not a representation of my college, but really of my own experiences, just to help your audience to grow in their future endeavors in leadership. Just, I wanted to make that clear first. Um, well, my leadership journey began there, but I had never ever thought about becoming a dean when I was a faculty member. I was a faculty member at Lone Star College for 14 years and loved teaching the students. That's why I was there for so long. And I decided to advise our students in our teacher education department just to give them a closer experience when it came to helping them navigate through the processes and trying to figure out choices for themselves when they wanted to transfer to their four-year university. And I came across this one student who really just kind of created a trajectory for me. And she walked into my office and we were having an advising appointment, and she was just exasperated. And she was really in a point of despair. She wanted to quit. She felt like she was already in the uh, transfer mode for too many long years. And she was a single mom. She was a paraprofessional at a school. And she just told me, I'm on the verge of quitting because it's just taking too long to transfer. So we went through her coursework and she shared with me personal experiences that were causing also that despair. And after that, we were able to create a plan for her. And she looked at it and she told me, I'm going to put this on my refrigerator and it's going to motivate me to finish. And I left there going, wow, I was so grateful to be able to help her in that appointment. But at the same time, I was also disheartened because she was going through so many spirals of the runaround or whatnot. It may not have been with our institution. It could be other institutions, which she was also a part of in her past. But it's just the general cycle that some of our students are going through when it comes to the barriers in their lived experiences. And so that drove me to want to go into leadership and change policies that could possibly have been broken at the time.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided to apply for a doctoral program at UT Austin. Unfortunately, I was able to pursue my doctorate there. But amid that, I endeavored in other roles in leadership within my institution, lead faculty, leading our teacher ed department, but also I was part of boards with national and local state organizations in teacher ed. And that just kind of flourished and made me want to be a part of the bigger umbrella
Yeah.
to help more students. And that story alone, I actually included it in my dissertation because, like I said, it was the pivotal moment of my life when it came to helping students find their pathway.
Yeah.
So I do have to finish the story though. 2 years later, I got a chance to be on stage at our college to give their diplomas out, and she walked up that stage. I know. It was like the best experience of my life. And she came up to me, gave me a hug, and she said, "Professor Lee, I thank you so much." And that is the goal, right? To see them walk across the stage and then fulfill their dreams. So no doubt about it. Leadership was where I want to be right now, and hopefully to be able to pursue other opportunities in the future.
Fay, we need more leaders, more heart
Mm-mm.
in our organizations, on our campuses. I, for one, feel really grateful that you're there in that role, impacting students the way you are. I always say that when you go onto a campus, what is the feeling
Mm,
of what leadership is doing and how are they impacting students? And you've just shared a really heartwarming story of putting the student first, making the student a priority, because really that's why we're there, right? We're
absolutely.
there for students. And so share with me then, in what ways do you believe academic leaders, and I know you're not just speaking specifically for Lone Star College, but academic leaders in general, how are they making students a priority so they can assure that they have access to resources and the support they need to succeed? Because every story that ends like yours, there's another that doesn't end like that.
Mm, mhm,
So, how do
mhm.
we make students a priority?
Absolutely. Okay, that's a great question. There's so many competing priorities, and sometimes we lose track
Yes.
of the ultimate vision and the ultimate goal, which is to see our students graduate and to be successful thereafter.
Absolutely.
Not only to see our students graduate within our institutions. So one of the things, at least what I like to do, is to hear from the stakeholders.
Mm,
That's really important. Not only to hear from the students themselves, I think that's key, but it's also important to hear the people who are working with the students either on a daily or weekly, bi-monthly, very like the boots on the ground. Those
mm,
are on the front lines. And that to me is my faculty, in addition to our staff and advising. In fact, my dissertation was involving advisors and administrators. And I
ah,
wanted to hear from them how we could navigate through helping our students break barriers in order for them to fulfill their goals
right.
and to complete their degrees. And so hearing from them in a consistent manner, at least once or twice a year, to help recalibrate our vision and then go from there, co-creating a plan together with them.
Oh, I love
In
that.
addition to obviously hearing from the students. Now, I love to hear from my faculty because they're with the students 3 to 4 times a week or 2 to 3 times a week. If they're teaching online, they're still hearing from their students.
Right.
I created, like, last year, 2 years ago, I started surveying our faculty throughout the year because I wanted to hear how are things going with the initiatives that they're doing in their classroom. They
Absolutely.
shared with me some plans that they wanted to initiate the beginning of the semester, and then I wanted to hear midway through how are those plans going, and loved hearing the qualitative data that I was able to collect from the faculty. And I think when we are listening
Right.
and hearing them about the problems and the barriers, and then co-creating those plans together.
Yeah.
So we have the barriers, we have identified them. What can we do to then execute a plan that will help the student again progress through the program?
Yeah, I love that you mentioned recalibrating,
Mhm.
that there are times we lose sight of who we're here to serve. And so in working with deans, I often hear there's a lot of conflict, or, when we're data informed decision making, is the student at the center of those decisions. So when leaders, whether it's stakeholders or complete institutions, when they lose sight of the institutional vision of why we're here and the strategic goals to make that vision a reality, how do you recalibrate?
Mm-mm. That's a really good question. One thing I think leaders may tend to do, I'm not saying all,
Okay.
but they may be very excited about
Mm-hmm.
that strategic plan that they have, and then they may produce or initiate a lot of initiatives throughout the semester. And you've probably heard it, initiative fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
And when the constituents are, including myself, are executing so many initiatives, we forget what the main vision was originally. Many years ago, I had a situation that happened to me, not a current situation, but many years ago. And the leader at the time was just one initiative after another without kind of telling us what is the purpose behind that initiative and how is this going to help our students in a very direct way. I mean, sometimes they can give us the broad level view, but then sometimes we need more direction on what that vision is supposed to produce um, in a concrete way, right? Faculty need concrete, and I was a faculty at the time when this was going on, and I'm about to answer your question, but I have to give you context.
No, that's perfect.
So, um, some of the things that were going on that those few years was initiative fatigue, but also not following through with the initiatives. What it was the data that was collected, and what did we do with that data that was collected?
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that, unfortunately, in my eyes, discredited leadership. And it caused distrust
Mm-hmm.
too, not following through and
Mm-hmm.
not giving us context. So that's really important that we follow through. And from there, that was something that I wanted to make sure that if I ever became a leader, I was going to make sure that the vision was clear as well as the follow through was clear. What are we going to do with this information? So one of the things, I'll just give you an example here. We're starting the next academic year very soon.
Yes.
I'm about to have a chair retreat. I oversee 8 department chairs.
Okay.
And one of the things that I just am about to send them is an email that is going to give them a survey because I want to hear from them.
Mm-hmm.
I had been gone on a special assignment for about 15 months and I'm back in my original position. And now I need to hear from my chairs again. This is our way of recalibrating. So I'm going to give them a survey. Give me your input on what you think the pressing issues are so that we can co-create this plan together. So hearing from them, reminding them what our president's strategic plans are, because I still need to align to them, and at the same time, making sure I understand their context and their stories. So I need to directly hear from them, and then we create this plan together. I then collect that information. I present it to our division as a whole, and that includes all of the faculty in the division, our staff, as well as advisors who are a part of our group, and our adjunct faculty who are part-time, so that our division can move together. Yeah. So that's one way of calibrating, just one way that I like to institute so that we're all on the same page.
I love that you like the collective voices to come together and to really share what could be a blind spot for you or several blind spots for you. So, what you're saying is that I need you to share with me what you're hearing, what you're feeling, what you're seeing, what's coming, what's new, what's next, that can help us along the way to serve our students in a better way. So, when you send this survey out and you ask for these most pressing challenges, what are some things that you expect to hear back? And
Oh, okay. Well,
let's take one area, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot. So let's take one area. How about innovation? What do you expect to hear back around innovation?
well, I know for sure because I used to be faculty, so they're going to start with the barriers, right? The barriers of innovation before we get to actually innovating. And
Okay.
it's good to identify the barriers anyway, because we still have to overcome them.
Hmm.
So one of the barriers I think could be process.
Okay.
A lot of processes have changed since I left,
Hmm.
and working around these new processes. And one of the ways in which I can help our faculty is to be an advocate.
Ah,
Advocacy is very important. Advocating to our vice president of instruction, who then could advocate to the president.
okay.
But streamlining processes is really important because right now there's a little bit of an arduous journey to get things approved in order for them to produce some of the programs that they want to have for students.
Yeah.
And so, I want to try to find creative solutions to some of these areas that have changed that may or may not be something that they like, but at the same time, we're going to work together to find some creative solutions. So, possibly even using some of their professional development funds if they request them, that we could use those funds to fund their programs. Many of them, I'm privileged to be the dean of where I am. The faculty that I oversee are truly talented people. I am like in awe of what they can produce, as well as their level of expertise. And what better way can I support them to advocate for their programming with the students? I'm a big believer of learning outside of the classroom.
Yeah.
In fact, there are some faculty who have field trips that they take students on.
That's great.
Yeah. So I want to help and secure those programs for our faculty. So blind spots, identifying those barriers, and then finding those creative solutions. The other thing I want to also say is our leadership needs to also help ourselves, those who are deans.
Hmm.
We are in need of professional development ourselves, and I hope that they can be aware of how we can learn about change management, for example,
Right.
especially a lot of change going on, not only within our campus, but change within our state and obviously within the federal government. So, but navigating and knowing how to pivot and how to change effectively and ensuring that we are sustaining trust with those who report to us. So I guess that's something. Hopefully I answered your question.
You did in a really wonderful way. I think very authentic and shared some vulnerabilities there too, especially when we talk about trust. And how do we build trust? I often find that most organizational issues are really trust issues in disguise. And so we just don't
Mm-hmm.
call them trust issues, right? We call them lack of transparency or the meeting after the meeting or hoarding information or silos, or we call them something else, but really they're trust issues in disguise. And you brought up change management as well, and about how we might do a good job of developing those new and emerging leaders, but when it comes to that middle
Mm-hmm.
management part, whether it's the deans or directors or division leaders, sometimes we think that they have what they need in order to succeed. So, as a dean, let me personalize this for you. What
Mm-hmm.
kinds of support, leader development, coaching do you wish you either had earlier in your career or are looking forward to now?
One of the most important things I've learned in this job, and I think it's one of the hardest, is relational building.
Yes.
And I consider myself an extrovert, but I'm a shy extrovert. That's what I tell my faculty. I'm a shy extrovert. I like to observe and read the room, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, I I'm not the best. I'm still building my ability to communicate effectively. I mean, there's always areas of improvement. And so, one of the things that I've wanted to learn from mentors or other leaders is is effective communication,
Yeah.
and to be strategic with that communication, because the way I relate to some faculty may not be effective to others. Everyone has different personalities and ways of operating, right? So I need to be strategic in my ways of communicating, whether it be written, in person, with a phone call, even the choice of that modality. Should it be a phone call? Should it be an email? Do I have to make sure all of this is in writing? You know what I mean? So, or should I text them? So, those types of things I think is essential for especially middle management. I oversee over 40 direct reports, and majority of them are faculty. And like I said, I've got they're talented, they're incredibly intelligent, and at the same time, I want to be able to be an effective leader for them so that they can continue to pursue what they want to pursue. And communication, strategic in that relational building. That would be something I personally would want to grow with.
Thank you for sharing that. I think when I am out working with leaders and developing them with the different programs that I lead, or even in coaching opportunities with leaders at all levels, I hear that over and over. It's the number one skill: communication, interpersonal skills that people ask for in terms of training and development or through the coaching process. And so I tend to think about, what are we doing that's transformative? We are very traditional in higher education. And I created this podcast to be able to think forward, to think beyond the traditions, because we know that the students' needs are changing. We know that our states are changing. Our country is changing. And change brings a lot of resistance. And the reason I believe we get stuck in tradition is because we know it, or we've done it this way all the time. And change is hard. For some people, change creates pain in our brain. I mean, there's a lot of neuroscience behind that. And so when we think about how can we become more transformational, inspiring, influential, encouraging, considering other people, talk about the transformational needs of higher education as we move into the future.
That's a really good and hard question to answer, Rose.
Yes.
And you know what? I feel like I'm always an imposter in my position. And, there's only so much I know right now through just in my opinion, just some limited experiences. Transformation, I think, is definitely a lifetime experience in leadership, that it's at least a decade of reflecting on what have we done that is transformative. One of the things that I like to keep myself very aware of what current issues are in order to see where I can take my faculty or all those who directly report to me. That includes staff as well. And I always want to be inclusive when it comes to transformation. How can the whole grow, not just the majority? So I think about making sure that I'm keeping up with current issues. And, we know AI is one of the biggest areas in higher education. And it's not even higher ed. It's,
I'm so glad you
AI is huge and everyone's talking about it. There's so much information now. There's a lot of research that's being produced now with AI. And we absolutely know industry is requiring their entry level employees to know how to use it effectively. So
Absolutely.
we've got traditionalists in my division, as well as those who want to move forward
Yeah.
in this trajectory. So I want to talk about transformation in the world of technology.
Mhm.
How I truly believe there should be aspects of how this should be used effectively in every single discipline, whether it's workforce disciplines or transfer academic disciplines. Think we need to practicalize. I don't know if I created that word. Um, the use of AI, and they also need to know how to use it ethically.
Mm, great point.
Our industries, and I want to know what industries, I need to do more research. This is an area where I need to grow. Well, how are industries using AI in an ethical manner and training their employees to use it in an ethical
A
manner?
great
I think there's,
question.
like there's so many ways that we use it to, in practical sense. Yeah, you could use it to write an email and make sure the tone is correct. That's a real practical way of using it. But then how can you use it in a hard skill sense?
Mm,
Can we use it with our hard skills, not just our soft skills?
absolutely.
So I'm wondering, how our faculty could be challenged in that way. In fact, I have one faculty member, I have to say, he was very skeptical about AI. And this was a few years ago in its infancy. And we know that it's constantly improving and improving, almost
Mhm.
monthly, daily. I don't know. It's constantly improving. And now this faculty member he went on sabbatical to do research on
Mhm.
AI and how to use it within his discipline. And this is a historian.
Wow.
This is not somebody who's necessarily directly related to the workforce. And, I'm so grateful that I see faculty who are challenging themselves, right, to transform their own thinking and getting into the weeds of the research and how they can implement it within their own curriculum. And
Mhm.
so getting involved in these current issues, and then obviously challenging the faculty who are the traditionalists to evolve. Because if we're not evolving, honestly, I just feel like we're going to leave our students behind.
Absolutely. You brought up AI, and I'm so happy you really talked about the faculty and what they're being asked to do. I used to be a faculty member as well,
Mhm.
and am very well versed, firsthand experience of what faculty are being asked to do and the number of traditions that we have in higher education and how we're asked to being asked to transform and change some things. And we have a lot that are digging their heels in, and rightfully so. Um, and then we have these areas like AI or online learning that COVID taught us that we
Mhm.
could transition and become more transformative in that particular area. So we know that change is hard and the resistance to change is strong at times. And we can't push people because then they'll either pull back or they're going to be really forceful in vocalizing what it
Mhm.
is that we're asking them to do. And I always find bringing people to the table, as you talk about, building relationships, being collaborative, asking and opening up the conversation. You have some great strategies for communicating and finding your way forward and hopefully limiting the amount of resistance that you get. So I just want to validate that the things that you're trying and working on and bringing to your team members, your faculty, your staff are really high level leadership skills. So as they say in Australia, good on you, Faye. I'm really excited that you are bringing that, and the work you're doing as a dean sounds impactful. As we get ready to wrap up, what would you like to say in terms of continuing to develop as a leader throughout higher education?
Like I said before, I have a lot of room to grow. And I think the fact that I'm willing to grow and learn and humble myself to that learning, whether it be learning from my faculty,
Mhm.
from the staff members,
Yeah.
our advisors, and then obviously mentors and other leaders within my own institutions and leadership that I admire outside of our institution. So that's essential, I think, for any leader. We have to be willing to grow. Even though that may be our institution, and our institution does give opportunities for middle management to grow. They provide programming and leadership academies, which I really appreciate. But finding it ourselves as well. I just endeavored in a nonprofit organization where it's a fellowship program. And I'm really grateful to be a part of this program because I'm learning how to be an advocate and building my advocacy skills. And this is outside of Lone Star. So we have to find an outlet too, to kind of keep things fresh so that we don't become stagnant. I think stagnancy is where we are going to find ourselves apathetic, the creeping of apathy. And so I was on a special assignment about 15 months ago, and it kept me on my toes. There's no doubt about it. I kept learning and I grew a lot from it. But coming back to my original institution here as the dean, I'm excited to grow in different ways, and excited to help our faculty also grow in different ways. Now, I don't know exactly what that roadmap looks like. Something I have to anticipate, but also plan for. But I'm excited about that. But I've got to grow myself. And I also have to take time. This is something I learned also this past year, is take time for self-care.
Yes.
Oh, I think when I was a faculty member, I did not do a very good job of that. And it took me, unfortunately, 15 years to realize, Faye, if you don't take care of yourself and take time for yourself, you are not going to be able to give to the people who need you, right? And so, and that includes my family as well, and taking time to be with family.
Managing yourself is the first step. Yeah. And that sounds like what you are striving to do, is to take care of yourself. And my hope is those of all of you that are listening out there, I'm hoping that's the first thing that you're doing. That first tenet of leadership is really taking care of yourself, being self-aware, to know that you can't lead others until you lead yourself first. And that's what I'm hearing you say. Fay, it's been a delight to have this conversation with you. And what I'm so touched by, and I know our listeners will be too, is your openness and your vulnerability and your humbleness. You also used a word that I love so much, and that's I'm wondering. And when things get tough, my hope is that leaders throughout academia really turn to wonder, as opposed to assumption or judgment. And I know that speaks to you directly as you talk about building a more inclusive team, more inclusive organization, institution. So thank you so much for your thoughts, for the wisdom that you have, for the not sure what I'm going to do next, but I'm willing to learn and grow and try. I just find that so refreshing. And so for those of you out there listening, we ask that you leave a review for us. You follow us on Think Forward with Rose, the Instagram account that we have, as well as go to the website, ourleadershipjourney.com, and look for opportunities to engage in the conversation, to read the weekly leadership tips that I'm writing or have been written by other leaders throughout our field and industry. Most importantly, have a voice, stay connected. And if you're interested in being a guest on my podcast, Think Forward with Rose, just reach out through the website. Take care, Fay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I had a good time.